They say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, yet it never seems to be as good as the original. Hey, this Files. Today I am ranking the Critters franchise, aka probably the most well-known and successful ripoff of the Gremlins movies. And of the other imitations like Ghoulies, Munchies, and Hobgoblins, I think I chose the best of these franchises. Not that it's a high bar at all. When I was younger, I remember really liking the third and fourth Critters films. I used to rent them from the Netflix DVD service, rest in peace. And for this Halloween, I wanted to revisit all of them and rank them for the channel. And what a genuine mistake that was. It's best that I just get into the rankings so I could never think about this franchise ever again. In fifth place, I have Critters Attack, the TV movie rebootquel that has absolutely nothing going for it. It was so painful to sit through. I had to pause it many times so my head wouldn't explode. From the terrible acting to the flat lighting to the uninspired everything, this is genuinely one of the worst movies I have ever seen. The best thing about this movie is that it allowed me to grow an appreciation for almost every other film in existence, just based on the fact that it isn't this one. It's crazy because this is the only film in the whole franchise to have an R rating, and it does absolutely nothing with it. At least Critters 1 through 4 had some bite to it. I'm really trying to think of anything positive to say about this movie, but nothing comes to mind. And worst of all, as much as Critters is just a ripoff of Gremlins, this one somehow takes even more inspiration from it. After watching this, I really do think it's my duty to make sure that no one else ever lays their eyes on this. In fourth place, I have Critters 4. I really thought this piece of crap was going to be last place, but by some miracle, Critters Attack was worse. Critters 4 is just so insanely boring. The idea of having these krites be flung out into space and get stuck on a ship with a small crew of people, it sounds like a great idea, but oh my goodness, the execution is just so lackluster. The critters don't even show up until halfway through the movie, and then they're barely shown for the rest of it as well. And you know, this would be fine if they at the very least was able to subside the lack of critters with good characters, but this movie couldn't write anything well. You know your writing's bad in your movie when you have Angela Bassett be one of the main characters and yet you make her completely forgettable. What really bothers me is that it's so boring because it tries to be the alien of this franchise and it cannot pull that off to any degree. Overall, this was so bad, it left such a sour taste in my mouth that I question if I would ever like a movie ever again. The only reason this is above Critters Attack is because this looked like it was shot on film, so it's inherently going to have a nicer look than digital. I mean this when I say it. From the bottom of my heart, these are two of the worst films I have ever seen. And with that, I must issue an apology to the people that I saw this movie with. I am so sorry that I made you sit through this abomination of a film. I truly don't know how I enjoyed this as a child because it's so bad. I just really thought that this would at least be so bad it's good. But no, it is just so bad that it's agonizing. In third place, I have Critters 2. This is the one that I never got around to seeing even as a kid. I really would have loved to see the third act of this one with friends because there's this moment where there's this big ball of krites just rolling around and it's glorious. And aside from those few fun scenes, it really is just an okay, mediocre time. I will say having Know-It-All from the Polar Express in this movie was kind of a jump scare. It really messed with my head so much because how do you have this kid from the 2004 masterpiece of Polar Express also be this man from the 1988 Critters 2? There's just something that feels off about it. In second place, I have Critters 3. This franchise really has a knack for having actors that would go on to do great things. Because what do you mean this was the feature debut of Leonardo DiCaprio? I mean, shoot, even the DVD I have of it is boasting how it's the feature debut of Leonardo DiCaprio. And he's not even the main character. Also, Leo isn't the only one from Titanic to be in this franchise, but I'll get into that later. This movie has the ingredients of what a perfect Critters movie should be. Unfortunately, it messes up a lot of the fundamentals of filmmaking. The editing overall is just slightly off. The sound design is just straight up bad. And also the movie itself just felt light. However, if this franchise were to ever be truly rebooted with a budget and people with a passion of making these movies, they should take the inspiration from this one the most. Because you have this apartment building full of likable people taking on Krites as they terrorize their building, and that could be the very solid premise of what should be an amazing time in the theater. Especially with the energy of this, because it is campy and that's exactly what these types of movies need. But if they ever were to reboot this, especially with the premise of the third one, keep away everyone that was ever attached to Critters Attack. And in first place, I have Critters, the first one. I was not expecting for this one to be in my top spot, especially when I started rewatching all of these movies, because I just had a feeling I would prefer a sequel to this. But I was incredibly wrong. Overall, I don't think this is a bad movie. I think it's a fun little time, especially if you're watching with friends, which is the only way you should watch any of these. And remember when I said that Leo wasn't the only one from the Titanic movie to be in this franchise? Well, Billy Zane, the best character from Titanic, yes, I said it, is in this movie. He plays the main character's sister's boyfriend, and frankly, we needed more of him. But anyways, this is a fun little home invasion type of movie. It's personal, and the critters are rarely ever funnier than they are in this one. There's this one little scene that I'll always remember. It's when one critter says to the other, "Hey, be careful, they have weapons." The other one says, "Who cares?" Gets shot, and then the other one curses and rolls away. It's just a fun little scene. Also, this entry just shows you how spiteful the critters can be. And overall, this is the most personality that we get from any of the Critters films. This movie should have been the bar that the sequels crossed easily every time, but they never did. As a whole franchise, it falters when it tries to be too much like Gremlins, but it also falters when it tries too much to be its own thing or like another franchise. There is this middle ground that it does well, but it's rare that it ever does it. I'd really love for actual good creatives that are passionate about these movies to give it another crack at it with a good budget. I really do think this could be a lot of fun, especially with the puppetry. But please, do not let it be like that sci-fi one. But alright, those are my thoughts on the Critters franchise. I really should have just rewatched the Gremlins movies. But have you seen these movies or any of the other Gremlins ripoffs? Let me know down in the comments below. Be sure to follow us on our socials. As always, thank you guys for liking, commenting, and subscribing. Stay tuned for more Yeti Films content, and I'll watch you later.